y'all. Y'all my fair pay. Y'all make enough money off of me.
This drama between Tyla and Rihanna just hit a whole new level, and the internet is in chaos. Trust me, this isn't just about music anymore. This is about power, influence, image, and who really gets to sit at the top of the global pop throne.
Rihanna was like, I just wanted to be her.
So my parents were like, be realistic. Like, you need to work. This can be a side, a hobby.
Tyla is finally speaking up in ways that feel like shade, and fans are convinced she's calling out the shadow Rihanna has cast over her career. And now, it looks like we're finally seeing the tension boil over between these two women. But before we get too deep into the madness, let me set the stage. Because what is going down between Tyla and Rihanna isn't just a simple artist comparison, it is chess. It's about how the music industry positions its stars, who gets the spotlight, and who gets boxed into someone else's legacy. And let's be real, this situation is about 4 or 5 seconds away from turning wild. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you've been paying attention, you already know how Tyla burst onto the scene. She came into the spotlight like a storm when her track Water went viral on TikTok in 2023. That record wasn't just a quick hit. It charted on the Billboard Hot 100 and even scored her a Grammy for Best African Music Performance. Overnight, Tyla was crowned South Africa's global pop princess, with fans worldwide putting her on heavy rotation. But here's where the mess comes in. From the very start, fans started clocking similarities between Tyla and Rihanna. The fashion, the swag, even her hairstyles, everything was getting compared. One picture in particular had social media clowning Tyla, accusing her of cosplaying Rihanna's old looks. And y'all know how savage the internet can get. People weren't holding back. Suddenly, Tyla was being labeled a copycat, an industry plant, and accused of following Rihanna's playbook bar for bar, word for word. But Tyla wasn't about to sit back and laugh it off. Early on, she made it clear. Rihanna is Rihanna, and she respects that. But she also said she's her own artist. In her words, it's a compliment, but at the same time, I'm my own artist. I'm Tyla, and I know as people get to know me and my music, they will see me as just Tyla. On the surface, it sounded polite, but read between the lines, and it was a clapback. She was basically saying, stop putting me in Rihanna's shadow. I am tired of you all acting like I don't have my own identity. And Tyla didn't stop there. She doubled down in a cryptic post about people secretly recording her conversations, writing, talking to me about secretly recording is so weird. I can see the lens, baby. Fans instantly took it as shade, not just at the industry trying to mold her, but maybe even at Rihanna herself for keeping her boxed in as the next Riri. But here's the twist. Rihanna wasn't silent either. Around the exact same time, she reposted a cryptic quote on Instagram, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." Fans immediately connected the dots, speculating that Rihanna was subtly warning Tyla to stay in her lane, or depending on who you ask, mocking the idea that anyone could ever come close to replacing her. Now the question is this. Is this just the internet stirring up beef? Or are Tyla and Rihanna actually throwing shots at each other in plain sight? Whatever the truth is, one thing's for sure. The pop throne just got a lot more crowded, and fans are ready for a showdown. I mean, let's keep it real. Rihanna could have even been talking about anything or anyone when she posted that cryptic quote, but the timing made people dig deeper. And once you start looking at the way Epic Records has been marketing Tyla and how the industry has played these games in the past, it is not hard to wonder if Rihanna's refusal to co-sign, or maybe even a little quiet jealousy, is what's slowing down Tyla's rise. That's the theory fans can't stop buzzing about. From the viral explosion of Water to the constant Rihanna copycat claims, and now whispers about industry sabotage, this story's got all the ingredients of a pop culture showdown. And by the end, you will understand exactly why people are convinced Rihanna is low-key, making sure Tyla never reaches her full potential. Let's rewind. When Tyla dropped Water in 2023, nobody could have predicted just how massive it would get. The track blended amapiano, R&B, and Afro beats into a sound that felt global but fresh. But it wasn't just the music that took off. It was the performance. Tyla and her choreographer posted that TikTok where she slides across the floor, drenched in water, hitting those sharp Bacardi-inspired moves. Within weeks, the Water challenge was everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, you name it. The clip was impossible to escape, and Tyla skyrocketed from a South African favorite to a name recognized worldwide. By January 2024, Water had cracked the Billboard Hot 100's top 10, peaking at number 7. Then came the history-making Grammy for Best African Music Performance, the very first artist to ever take home that award. Just like that, Tyla wasn't just a rising star. She became the face of African pop breaking into mainstream culture. But if there's one thing the industry has taught us, it's that fast success comes with heavy scrutiny. And that's when the Rihanna comparison started to pour in, full force. It wasn't just because Tyla was young, edgy, and dripping in designer fits. It was the entire package. The sultry red carpet looks, the carefree messy hair flips, the effortless cool girl energy. For critics, the parallels to Rihanna's come-up were impossible to ignore. Social media had a field day. One viral post on X joked, "What in the good girl gone bad is going on here? Now she's in her new Rihanna era. If I was Rihanna, I'd be annoyed." Others were even harsher, saying Tyla needed to carve out her own lane before she got swallowed whole by the comparisons. And honestly, you can see why people said that. Rihanna built her empire as the unapologetic Caribbean bad girl from Barbados, crossing genres and breaking molds with Jay-Z and Def Jam, backing her every move. Tyla's story feels eerily similar, except this time, it's Epic Records pouring millions into viral marketing, trying to position her as the next global superstar. To a lot of fans, the whole thing feels like copy-paste. Same blueprint, different face. And that's where the tension kicks in. Is Tyla genuinely being molded as the new global pop princess in her own right? Or is she being set up as Rihanna 2.0, whether she likes it or not? The industry might see it as strategy, but to fans, it looks like a collision course that could pit the two women against each other in ways neither of them asked for. But let's not forget about the label politics behind the scenes, because this is where the story gets really juicy. Insiders have been whispering that Epic Records has been flooding TikTok and Twitter with paid campaigns since as far back as 2022, long before Tyla was even a household name. Her single bin thinking mysteriously popped up on everyone's timelines, even for people who had never searched her name or followed her accounts. That kind of push doesn't happen by accident. It's label money, plain and simple. And when Water rolled out, that same machine went into overdrive. Sponsored posts, seeded challenges, algorithm boosts. Suddenly, Tyla's face and voice were everywhere, whether you wanted to see her or not. The rollout worked, no doubt, but it also sparked the backlash that still haunts her today. Critics branded her an industry plant, accusing Epic of trying to engineer her career rather than letting it happen naturally. Now, normally being compared to Rihanna is the ultimate compliment. It puts you in legendary company, and for most artists, it would be the kind of comparison that could boost their career. But for Tyla, it's starting to feel more like a curse. She's admitted that she looked up to Rihanna growing up, specifically because Rihanna showed that non-American girls could break through and dominate the global stage. In an Interview magazine feature, Tyla said, "I do remember loving the story of Rihanna because she came from outside of America. It made me feel like my dream was achievable, because like you said, it's not something that happens every day for us." But here's the twist. While Tyla is flattered by the comparisons, she's also clearly desperate to break free from Rihanna's shadow. She told Cosmopolitan, "At the same time, I am my own artist. I'm Tyla. And I know as people get to know me and my music, they will see me as just Tyla." Translation? She's tired of the new Rihanna label. She wants her own lane. The catch, though, is brutal. Whether she likes it or not, her career path looks eerily identical to Rihanna's early grind, and fans think that S by design. Just look at how she's being styled. Tyla made headlines at the 2024 Met Gala in a custom Balmain gown that stopped traffic. Then she turned around and shut down the MTV EMAs with a vintage Roberto Cavalli look that screamed rebellious yet effortlessly sexy, the exact kind of energy Rihanna used to dominate red carpets with in her prime. And then came the bombshell moment. Anna Wintour personally tapped Tyla to be on the 2025 Met Gala host committee. That's when the narrative officially wrote itself. Rihanna 2.0 had arrived, at least in the eyes of the fashion and music world. But here's the problem. Being labeled the next Rihanna comes with baggage. Because if Rihanna herself starts to feel like Tyla's creeping into her territory, things could get icy real fast. Rihanna has never been one to sit back quietly when it comes to defending her crown. That's exactly where the jealousy whispers began. Did Rihanna see Tyla as a genuine threat? Was she annoyed at the endless comparisons? Fans think so. They point to that cryptic Instagram post where Rihanna wrote, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." To some, it was a generic quote, but to others, it was a dagger. Her subtle way of letting Tyla, her label, and the entire industry know that she's untouchable, and nobody is replacing her anytime soon. But before we dive deeper into whether Rihanna's really shading Tyla, we have to understand why the industry is so committed to pushing this narrative in the first place, and how Tyla's entire come-up feels suspiciously manufactured to mirror Rihanna's exact blueprint step for step. Now, I ain't gonna lie. Some of Tyla's looks lately really have been giving pawn to replay energy with a sprinkle of "come Mr. DJ" vibes. The side-by-side comparisons practically make themselves, and fans have been saying the similarities are just too uncanny to ignore. But this is where the whole thing takes a sharp turn, because the Rihanna comparisons stopped being flattering a long time ago and have officially turned into a battleground. See, Rihanna has been in this industry long enough to know exactly when a label is trying to position someone as her replacement. This isn't her first rodeo. She has seen wave after wave of the next Rihanna hype before. For years, bloggers, execs, and PR machines have crowned fresh faces as the future of pop, only for most of them to fizzle out. But this time, it feels different. This time, it feels personal. And that's why fans are dissecting every move, especially Rihanna's cryptic social media posts. Remember when she dropped that line, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I laugh in the face of those who think otherwise"? To some, it was just a Bible verse. But to fans who have been clocking the Tyla comparisons, it read like a warning shot. A subtle way of saying, "I'm unshakable and no copycat is ever going to knock me off my throne." The internet immediately ran with it. One fan posted, "I don't think Tyla's failure is her fault. It's her team and her fans who ruined her. They made her think she was more talented than she was. They tried to gaslight us into supporting her just because she was brown and could dance a little." Another comment hit even harder, saying, "I am so glad people are starting to realize Tyla and her team stole Rihanna's looks, attitude, and everything, then shipped it to the US, so now everyone thinks she's a copycat." That's light-skinned privilege at work. The backlash shows just how messy the conversation has gotten. It's not just about music anymore. It's about identity, image, and who gets crowned as the industry's it girl. And here's where things get complicated, because Tyla herself seems to be playing both sides. On one hand, she praises Rihanna in interviews every chance she gets. She told British Vogue, "Coming from outside the States, I really looked up to her. She made me realize there's another way." But on the other hand, her tone has shifted ever so slightly. When she said, "Rihanna is Rihanna, but I'm my own artist. People will see me as Tyla." It sounded respectful at first, but fans swear it carried an edge, a quiet clapback that she's tired of being boxed in as the next Rihanna. Then came her cryptic post about people secretly recording her, where she wrote, "Talking to me about secretly recording is so weird. I can see the lens, baby." While Tyla never named names, people instantly speculated it was a jab at industry insiders, maybe even Rihanna's camp, trying to catch her slipping. Whether that's true or not, it only fueled the narrative that there's tension brewing behind the scenes. And don't forget, this isn't just about music, it's about business. Rihanna isn't just a pop star anymore, she's a billionaire mogul with Savage x Fenty, Fenty Beauty, and a reputation for being untouchable. On top of that, she's now a mother of 3, which has only elevated her image as someone who can dominate every lane at once. That kind of empire means power. Labels, fashion houses, and media execs know Rihanna runs the table. And if she's not feeling Tyla, doors could close for her very quickly. That's why fans are now speculating Rihanna's jealousy, if you can call it that, isn't just emotional, it's strategic. Protecting her legacy means protecting her influence. And anyone who looks like they re-creeping too close to her lane could find themselves quietly blocked before they ever get the chance to shine. It might not just be coincidence, it could be strategic. Fans have pointed out that Tyla hasn't landed certain heavyweight collaborations yet, even though she's one of the hottest names in music right now. No Drake feature, no Beyoncé co-sign, no Rihanna duet, nothing. For an artist who just won a Grammy with a viral global smash, that's unusual. Normally, the industry would be racing to attach big names to her momentum. So the theory is simple. Could Rihanna be making a few quiet calls behind the scenes to make sure those doors stay closed? And honestly, stranger things have happened. The music business is cutthroat, and history proves it. A resurfaced 2005 clip of Rihanna on the Tyra Banks show has haunted fans for years. In the interview, Rihanna joked about Jay-Z warning her there were only two ways to leave the Def Jam office. Either through the door with a deal signed or through the window, and we're on the 29th floor. That story has always stuck with people because it exposed how intense and intimidating industry pressures can be. And now, with Tyla being pushed as Miss Rihanna 2.0, fans can help but wonder if Rihanna's returning the favor, protecting her lane by making sure Tyla never rises too high. But before we go deeper into the sabotage claims, let's break down how Tyla's entire image has been carefully manufactured from day one. Because once you start tracing the receipts, the Rihanna blueprint becomes impossible to ignore. From the very beginning, Tyla wasn't moving like an indie artist grinding from the bottom. She had a machine behind her. Epic Records was pushing her aggressively from day one, treating her like a global act before most people even knew her name. Back in 2022, Tyla wasn't mainstream yet, but her single Been Thinking somehow kept showing up on everyone's timelines. Fans later pieced together that Epic was allegedly paying major TikTok and Twitter accounts to push her name, her clips, and her choreography, making sure she trended, whether people were asking for her or not. That's why the whole rollout feels inorganic to some. By the time Water dropped, the campaign was flawless. The song didn't just go viral, it was everywhere. Every other For You page had someone attempting the sliding, dripping, Bacardi-inspired moves. Explore pages across Instagram were full of the choreography. People swore they never searched Tyla, yet there she was, recommended over and over again. It was algorithm flooding at its finest. A textbook example of label-driven virality. And here's where the Rihanna comparisons get louder than ever, because the parallels are striking. When Rihanna broke out in 2005 with Pon de Replay, Def Jam and Jay-Z branded her as this exotic, fashionable, edgy, cool girl next door with massive crossover potential. Tyla's rollout, nearly identical. Rihanna had Barbados as her cultural stamp. Tyla has South Africa. Rihanna had Melissa Ford, her best friend turned creative collaborator. Tyla has Tato, her creative director and right-hand stylist since day one. Rihanna went from Caribbean roots into global pop dominance. Tyla's trajectory is clearly being built to follow that same arc, starting with Amapiano and Afro beats, then sliding fully into polished global pop once her audience is locked in. Even the fashion playbook matches. Rihanna's early rise was boosted heavily by her red carpet statements, with designers clamoring to dress her. Tyla's being styled the same way, high fashion gowns, rebellious yet sexy energy, and handpicked by the fashion elite like Anna Wintour to headline committees. It's the same formula, just updated for a TikTok-driven era. And that's exactly why the tension feels inevitable. Because the closer Tyla's rollout looks to Rihanna's, the harder it is for fans, and Rihanna herself, to ignore. Rihanna's early rise was textbook label branding. She went from playful, sexy performances in the Pon de Replay era to shutting down the Met Gala in couture gowns from Balmain and Roberto Cavalli, to becoming a fashion icon personally courted by Anna Wintour. And now, Tyla's being walked down that same path with her own Met Gala invite, high fashion looks, and even a 2025 Met Gala host committee seat. That's not coincidence. That's label branding 101. But here's where it gets controversial. Some critics argue Epic Records purposely picked Tyla because of how she fits into the US market. Commentators online have pointed out that non-American pop stars who are lighter-skinned or racially ambiguous often get marketed as more palatable to global audiences. They argue that before Tyla, most African women breaking into the mainstream, like Thames and Era Star, were darker-skinned. Tyla's lighter complexion, Americanized accent, and carefully styled image make her easier to market to audiences who aren't used to fully embracing African women at that scale. It's a brutal conversation, but people are having it. And while Thames carved out her lane with a Drake remix on Wait For You, Tyla's trajectory has been about making her look like an instant global superstar. Fans have also noticed how quickly her personality seemed to shift. At first, she was the playful teen on TikTok, smiling through cute dance routines. Practically overnight, she was rebranded as a sultry, high-fashion superstar on red carpets, styled head to toe in couture. Critics say the transition felt manufactured, not organic, that she doesn't have one consistent identity, she just morphs into whatever lane her label needs her in at the moment. And that's the problem. If your brand is built entirely on comparisons to Rihanna, those comparisons will never go away. Tyla herself knows it. She's said repeatedly that she doesn't want to live in Rihanna's shadow. But now think about it from Rihanna's perspective. She knows this industry better than anyone. She knows the formula because she lived it. And now she's watching a younger artist being rolled out using her exact blueprint. If that doesn't make the jealousy rumors believable, nothing will. And it is not just about Tyla copying Rihanna's looks. It's Epic Records openly trying to recreate Rihanna's career from scratch. And if you're Rihanna, the last thing you want is someone being positioned as your replacement while you're still active. That's why the shade hits so hard. If Rihanna feels her identity is being cloned and Tyla feels trapped under Rihanna's shadow, then this isn't just personal tension, it's structural, built into the way the industry is pushing both of them. This whole Tyla versus Rihanna conversation really blew up once the cryptic posts started flying across social media. It began with subtle captions, shady Instagram stories, and carefully worded interviews. Fans swore they were aimed at each other, even though neither woman ever said names. In today's music game, shade travels faster than the songs themselves, and both of them know how to play that game well. Tyla isn't the type to call anyone out directly, but her comments often set the internet ablaze. In her Cosmopolitan interview, she said, "People want to tie me to something familiar to them, cool. But at the end of the day, we're doing something no one's done before, and it can't really be compared to anyone." That line, "we're doing something no one's done before," felt like a not-so-subtle dig, like she was telling the world, "I'm not copying, I'm innovating." Meanwhile, Rihanna kept doing what Rihanna does best, staying in character, never saying names, but always knowing how to stir the pot. Her Instagram post, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," wasn't just a random faith quote. For the Navy, Rihanna's fan base, it was their queen planting her flag. For Tyla's fans, it was confirmation Rihanna sees Tyla as a threat. Either way, that one post ignited a firestorm, with debates raging over whether Rihanna was shading Tyla or simply preaching. But then the mess went nuclear, because Cardi B jumped in. And y'all know Cardi doesn't bite her tongue for anybody. She couldn't stand watching Tyla get dragged online over the Rihanna comparisons, and she decided to speak out loud and clear. Cardi said, every single time Cardi B scrolled her TikTok feed, she said it was the same thing. Video after video of Tyla getting dragged. And Cardi snapped. She ranted, "Every single time I scroll on my TikTok, there's a video of her and people talking-ish, and it's like, god dang, what do you want her to effing do? Cut her effing veins?" It was raw, unfiltered, and heavy, but it put the spotlight right back on how toxic these fan wars have gotten. Cardi's words weren't just a defense of Tyla, they were a call-out to the entire industry. She pointed fingers at the machine that set Tyla up to fail by forcing her into Rihanna's shadow. Because when labels brand someone as the new Rihanna, they're basically lighting a match and waiting for the fan bases to go to war. And that's exactly what happened. Of course, fans did what fans always do, turn subtle shade into a full-on battlefield. One camp accused Tyla of being obsessed with Rihanna's style, saying every red carpet look and hair flip was straight from Rihanna's old playbook. Meanwhile, others swore Rihanna was the one acting jealous, pointing out that she hasn't dropped an album in nearly a decade, while Tyla is out here snatching Grammys, charting globally, and shutting down fashion carpets. The comments got brutal. One viral take read, "Tyla's success ain't organic. They manufactured her whole brand to be Rihanna light. Of course Rihanna's annoyed. Nobody wants to be replaced in their own lifetime." On the other side, another fan countered, "I love how people say Tyla copies Rihanna, and instead of being bitter, Tyla keeps calling Rihanna her inspiration. That's how you know she's secure and genuine." Both sides were stoking the fire, and soon what started as innocent comparisons turned into a narrative of sabotage, jealousy, and survival of the fittest. But here's why this drama cuts deeper than petty shade. In this business, shade equals power. Shade dictates opportunities. And opportunities mean money. If Rihanna doesn't vibe with Tyla, even quietly, doors can slam shut fast. Fashion houses might hesitate to book her. Brands could back away. Collaborations might never materialize. That's why the whispers about Rihanna's jealousy feel dangerous. Fans think it's not just emotional. They believe Rihanna's influence might be actively limiting Tyla's growth. And Tyla knows it. That's why she keeps stressing her individuality every chance she gets. In interviews, she doubles down on her message. She's not Rihanna 2.0, she's Tyla. Because if she doesn't break free from the shadow soon, she risks being remembered not as a star in her own right, but as a copycat of someone else's blueprint. And once that label sticks, it's nearly impossible to shake off. That's when things stop being shade and start looking like sabotage. Insiders have whispered that Rihanna could be doing exactly that behind the scenes, protecting her throne by keeping Tyla boxed in. And when you think about how powerful Rihanna is across music, fashion, and business, the possibility feels real. She doesn't even have to say Tyla's name. Her influence alone is enough to shift the industry's attitude in subtle but devastating ways. And this is where it becomes bigger than Tyla and Rihanna. This is about how the music industry operates. We've seen it before. Nicki versus Cardi, Beyoncé versus Ciara, Drake versus Weeknd. The industry loves rivalries because rivalries sell. They keep fans locked in, keep conversations going, and keep the machine running. Tyla versus Rihanna is just the latest chapter, except this time, the stakes are global. Tyla represents a new wave of African artists breaking through in the US mainstream, a movement that could change the future of pop forever. Rihanna represents the established gatekeeper, the blueprint, the legend who proved you can come from outside the US and dominate every lane. And when those two narratives collide, it's explosive. The danger here is simple. Rihanna doesn't have to lift a finger to end Tyla. All it takes is quiet disapproval. No fashion invite, no cosign, no features, and the world will just assume Tyla fell off on her own. Meanwhile, some critics say Tyla's team played themselves by leaning too hard into the Rihanna formula. By copying the blueprint too closely, they invited the comparisons that now weigh her down like chains. But the whispers won't stop because here's the uncomfortable truth. Rihanna hasn't dropped a studio album in nearly a decade. Tyla, meanwhile, is Grammy certified, front row at Paris Fashion Week, headlining festivals, and hosting award shows with Pharrell and DJ Khaled. That's enough to make anybody, legend or not, take a second look. Tyla versus Rihanna isn't just a fan war. It's a case study in how the industry recycles its stars. When one icon slows down, the machine starts building the next one. But if the new star reminds people too much of the OG, they may never fully escape that shadow. And that shadow? It can swallow careers whole. For Tyla, her entire future depends on one thing: finding her own identity. Because let's be real, if she keeps letting people call her the new Rihanna, she'll never escape second place. She'll always be the understudy, the blueprint copy. But if she flips that script, maybe with a bold sound switch, maybe with raw storytelling that digs deeper into her roots, she might just carve out a lane Rihanna can't touch. That's the fork in the road she's facing right now. And that's exactly why this drama matters. Tyla isn't just fighting Rihanna's shadow, she's fighting the industry's obsession with recycling stars. She's either about to level up into the next global superstar or end up as the latest casualty of industry sabotage. That's the harsh truth. Because shade between women in music, that's not just about ego, it's about survival. Tyla's fighting to prove she's not a clone, while Rihanna is out here reminding the world she's still the only girl in the world. Until one of them addresses the tension directly, whether it's Tyla taking a stand in her music or Rihanna breaking her silence, the fans are going to keep fueling this fire. Every Instagram post, every red carpet look, every lyric will be dissected for hidden meaning. The Tyla versus Rihanna conversation isn't slowing down, it's growing. And Tyla? She's gotta bring more than just water. One viral hit got her foot in the door, but to prove she's more than a manufactured successor, she'll need an entire wave of originality to drown out the comparisons. If she pulls it off, the crown is hers for the taking. If not, she risks being remembered as nothing more than Rihanna light. So, what do y'all think? Is Tyla on her way to becoming the next global icon? Or is the industry setting her up to fail under Rihanna's shadow? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button if you're locked into this saga, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into music's messiest rivalries. Because trust me, the Tyla versus Rihanna story, it's just getting started.